This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we focus on fundamentals and not just technology. My name is Jason Schroeder, and today's podcast is about personal organization. So why would you want to listen today? Well, let me tell you. So organization is the most important thing that anyone can learn, in my opinion, in any industry, in any position, but especially in construction, where we deal with literally millions of moving parts, multiple trade partners with whom we're doing business. We're dealing with a lot of different people on site, sometimes hundreds and hundreds of people, and we have so many things to coordinate and schedule. It has to be a key skill for us to be organized, to schedule, and to know what things we should be doing and what things we shouldn't be doing. Also, going back to the focus of these podcasts to take you to your next level, to collaborate together so that we all benefit, so you make the money you want, so that you have the positions you want, you can be successful and fulfilled in your career and have a preserved, healthy, and happy family. This is the key to do that, is to stay organized and to have a personal organization system for you on your project, whatever your role is with anything that you're doing, whatever scope of work you're overseeing. So the key is to never forget what you're supposed to do. I was once told by a very wise mentor that people that forget and have to be reminded are a liability on the project or wherever they're working, on the team with whom they are working. And that people that always remember what they were supposed to do, they are conversely an asset. Now, let me dive into that just a little bit more. If somebody always has to be reminded, if you have to follow up and tell somebody what they're supposed to do consistently, if you're not sure that they are going to actually do what you've asked them to do, then it becomes a nightmare. You're thinking about it. You have to add their items to yours. You have to remind them. There's wasted time. You don't trust them to do things, and you don't feel like they're an added member of the team. They're not an added member of the team. They're an added liability. But if you remember everything, if somebody knows that you are going to remember the things that you're supposed to do, or that it has been delegated to you, or you know you need to get done by yourself, if people know that you'll never forget that you'll write it down, that you keep a to-do list, that you have a personal organization system, then you will be trusted and you will have the success that you're looking for. I promise. The consequences of not doing it is that you never learn that habit and you're never that successful, but it's far more impactful than that. People that cannot control their personal organization, their schedule, their items that they need to do, and focus in their role at the right times and the right places are not successful with their families either. Meaning that they never get home on time, they're always working too much, and that can be very destructive in their personal lives. So let me give you a quote, and then I'll talk about this a little bit more. Today's content is absolutely amazing, and I hope you enjoy it. So here's a quote. Don't start your day until it is finished on paper. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Jason's already done a podcast on leader standard work. We've heard some of these concepts before. Why is he going over this again? Well, I'll tell you, because it's the difference between success and not having success. It's the difference between a happy family and not having a happy family. In fact, I want to tell you a little story that typically happens to me when we do boot camps. And this isn't specific to one group or one company. This happens a lot. There's a time in the boot camps, whether it's for field engineers or for superintendents, where we ask the question of, hey, if you're field engineers, who knows how to do layout and control? And then we also ask superintendents, when we do their boot camps, who knows how to plan and schedule? And everybody raises their hand. And in the beginning, honestly, each class, and I don't know where my naivete comes from, but I'm like, ooh, great, we have a good group of people. They're always a good group of people because they're fantastic people, but we have a good experience level inside this group, and so we're going to get through some content. And every time we go through that boot camp, we find out that the level of understanding for basic information, whether it's for layout control and whether it's for scheduling, is really a lot lower than they thought. And the reason that I bring that up is that for all of us, sometimes I think we market ourselves or we think to ourselves that we know more than we do. And when it comes to personal organization, we can't do that. We have to admit if we have a problem and go learn more. Because another thing that happens in these boot camps is we ask, who has a personal organization system? Do you feel like you have a system to organize your life and keep a to-do list? And then we get into these boot camps, and after a little while of doing the prerequisite work, we find out that there isn't a system in place, that they don't have a to-do list, they don't have a daily system, they don't have a morning routine, they don't have a way to schedule their time and focus on the key things that will bring them the largest return on their investment and help them to be leaders and effective in their roles. And again, this isn't negative, this isn't downgrading or diminishing or criticizing the people that go through these boot camps. What it is meant to say is that we realized after doing a number of these camps, a number of these trainings, a number of these masterminds, that we have to start with personal organization. From day one, we start to do it. We reinforce that throughout the weeks of prereq work. Then in the actual in-person events, we focus on it again. And then it becomes an actual item, an assignment in the certification process for 60 days because it is so important. And for those people who have been through our camps, been through our training, and gone through the certification period and have created a system where they're able to manage their own time, their own to-do list with a morning routine, it has been absolutely remarkable. I mentioned that because it takes a lot of time. For a superintendent, it's about 4 months. And then a 6-month implementation period. For a field engineer, it's about 3 months of prerequisite work, a week of in-person training, and then another 6 months of certification to build those habits. It can take anywhere from 6 months to a year to learn these habits, although you can learn this within weeks if you really focus and dive in and make it a habit. So here's why I also mentioned the boot camp experience. It's because specifically in the superintendent boot camp experience, people are asked as a part of their assignment and as a part of their professional development to plan and schedule a project. That means the TACT plan, that means the master schedule, that means the logistics plans, that means the phasing drawings, any of the research to create the basis of schedule. And in order to do that, they have to work consistently as a team throughout a period of weeks. Typically, for the different phases for each assignment, you have about 4 weeks per assignment. Now, this takes some time. So there's 2 key things for that. One is there's a hesitancy to move forward to the next step and actually dive into the softwares like Bluebeam or P6 or things like that. That's one part of it. But the other part of it is that they don't manage their own time well enough to go get the assignment done. Again, that's not a criticism. I'm fighting personally in these podcasts against waste and anything that will hurt you guys in the field, you guys and gals, whether you're a PM or a superintendent, field engineer, or whatever you are. I'm trying to fight against the things that will hurt you. So I'm speaking negatively about a lack of organization. I'm not speaking negatively about you or anybody in these boot camps, anyone else who I'm trying to help and benefit and love enough to improve their career, their life, their families, right? So that's how I feel about it. The problem is that if we don't have time throughout the day, throughout our week, in our course of our normal work to go do these assignments, then there's no way to learn newer techniques to make us more effective. And what we saw in the beginning of these camps, and we continue to see, is that there's a point where people have to be pushed and there has to be a rule made. Nobody in this camp can work more than 60 hours, more than 55 hours, or whatever the number is. Maybe it's even 50 hours, depending on where you work, what project you're on, what company you work for. But unless you force that to be the case, then there isn't a forcing of organization. There isn't a forcing of scheduling. There isn't a forcing of keeping a to-do list. There isn't a forcing of doing your morning routine. And so in the beginning of these camps, to even learn the items that we wanted them to learn and go through the assignments with their team, personal organization had to be the first key tactic. So what we did was develop an organization system for each individual person, something that worked for them. They were able to start using to-do lists. They were able to start calendaring, time blocking their weeks, setting leader standard work, doing a morning routine. And once they got that system down, then they were able to find, I don't want to call it free time, but time to go do the training, to sharpen the axe, to sharpen the saw, sharpen their minds, and do this training so that they could even get through boot camp. So the two key takeaways from that is personal organization comes first. Second, we have to force ourselves into a constrained amount of hours, meaning we're never really going to force ourselves into an organization system until we say, nope, I'm going home at this time. No matter what, it will be done. This is how it's going to happen. So I would very much recommend, if you really want a personal organization system, to first start researching systems, and then secondly, go decide on a total amount of hours that you're willing to work and hold yourself accountable to that, and go home at the appropriate amount of time without working at home. So those are some key things. I do also want to mention before I forget that there are books about personal organization. One that I really enjoy that I encourage people to read, whether they're a field engineer or superintendent, is Getting Things Done by David Allen. I found that book to be very helpful, even if you don't like the specific ways in which he organizes his life, his tasks, his business, his files, and any of the other structures that he suggests. Even if you don't specifically like the way he does it, you can tailor it to your work style and be very successful with that. So here are a couple of things. When a superintendent or a project manager or a PE or a field engineer, you're walking with them and you say, hey, we need to get this done, and please remember this, and this needs to be put down and talked about in our next meeting. If you don't see them writing it down, then it's never going to happen and they're not going to remember it. If people say they have it or they can remember, I promise you they do not. Nobody, even the smartest people on this earth, have the memories that have enough capacity to remember. Even if they did, now you have these things that they're trying to remember in their active memory, and it's pushing out other things that they need to be focused on, like observing, correcting, thinking, and problem solving in the moment. So we have to realize that a key principle with this is to write everything down. Get it out of your brain, so that you're not stressed about it. Get it out of your brain so you can focus on other things, and make sure you get it onto paper and that you know exactly what needs to be done, and you have a very effective tool for you. Notice when you have a to-do list item. Here's the key. The first habit that you will want to develop is that anything you think of doing, anything that you are asked to do, anything that is delegated, anything you volunteer for, anything that you need to delegate, anything that needs to be done and communicated in any way needs to immediately go onto a system. And I would also tell you that that system should also translate to the bedroom. Now, that isn't meant in an inappropriate fashion. What I mean is you need to have something on your nightstand, something when you get out of the shower, something when you're going to bed at night, to take things out of your mind, put it on that list, and when you wake up in the morning and your subconscious has worked on problems during the night, and you come up in the morning, you wake up, you stand up, and you're like, oh, here are some really brilliant, wonderful ideas. You need to be able to write that down, whether that's your phone, whether that's your day planner, whether that's, whatever system you personally use. You need to have a place where you can note anything that you notice, anything you're triggered to write down. You need to have that with you always, even in your bedroom when you're going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning. Also, make it a habit to be super disciplined. Don't forget one or two of them. Reinforce the habit within your mind, within those habit loops, to log it down every single time that it happens. I cannot stress this enough. If you start to get into habit loops where you don't write everything down, your mind will stop triggering you to write it down, even if you do need it. I promise you that will happen. The time to triage your to-do list is not when you're writing things down. It's when you're referencing it at a later date. For the purpose of writing things down, you write every single thing down. So if you make sure that that's a habit, you will be successful. Now, where you write it down has to be in one spot where you will reference that throughout the day. I've said this multiple times. At least 3 times a day, you need to reference this. Whether that's your phone, whether that's your day planner, whether it's a notepad, whether it's stickies on your desk, hopefully that's not the case. You have to be able to reference that throughout the day. And I will make one quick point here. I have a MacBook where I'm recording this right now. There's a little program called Sticky Note. Windows has the same thing. All of these computers have the same thing, but it doesn't transfer into your phones. I would not keep your to-do list just on your computer. Now, if it's something like Microsoft To Do, where it references all of your devices and you can access it from anywhere, then by all means, please go do that. I would encourage encourage that 100%, but you can't have it in a single device where you can't access it all the time. So make sure that the spot where you write everything down is in a place where you can reference that habitually. The other thing that I would say is that it has to be as addictive as Facebook, as useful as YouTube, and as quick as Wikipedia. Find the system that you're the most addicted to. When somebody says, oh, I'm going to try that system in Excel or in Microsoft To Do or in Microsoft Outlook, or I'm going to try the day planner, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, I'm always like, whoa, hold on a minute. Find whatever system that you personally are addicted to, where you have a habit loop, what's easiest for you, what's sustainable for you. I mean, the closest thing that I can liken this to is I once knew a man who was trying to read a book every morning for 30 minutes every day, and he couldn't remember. And the one habit that he could tie it to was going to the restroom in the morning. And that might not sound wonderful to everybody listening, but I do want to just mention it because it's noteworthy and helpful that this person had a habit loop, go in the restroom every morning, do their normal morning routine, and that book was sitting on the back of the toilet or on the sink, and he was immediately reminded by seeing it, oh my gosh, I need to go do this, would read that book for 30 minutes and was successful on a daily basis. So we have to have those kinds of systems that are easy for us. It doesn't matter how advanced or non-advanced it is, or technological or non-technological it is. It has to be something that works for us. So let me also cover what you would do to start your day. Once you have your to-do list and your personal organization system, then you really need to make sure that you start your day in an effective way. And the first thing that we need to do in this step is to make sure that we are at the right mental state and the right physical state in the morning. So having a morning routine is crucial. And any of the best life coaches that I've ever been around or heard, or any of the best leadership trainings or seminars that I've gone to, have always recommended a good morning routine. Garrett Gunderson talks about the power hour. Tony Robbins talks about a 14-minute meditation morning routine and a number of positive affirmations. And a lot of people really do it, but really the key is to not wake up in a way where you're tired and you're not focused and your mind is busy and your mind is stressed and you really haven't planned your day. And remember that quote that says, don't start your day until it's finished on paper. If you have a to-do list system, then really you need to preface that and the creation of your day and your time blocking for that day with getting into the right mental and physical state. So some people exercise in the mornings, and I really find that to be a fantastic thing to do on a daily basis, to get up, to exercise, and then to take a shower. If you have a personal exercise routine, make sure that that is planned on the days during the week that you feel like it would best suit your system. Another thing that is recommended, like I said, is meditation. So meditation really is about controlling your mind, clearing your mind, and making sure that you have time for reflection and you're getting those messages that you need to hear on a daily basis that will help shape the rest of the day. And so here's what somebody's day might look like. So their alarm clock wakes them up. They get up within the first 5 or 10 seconds instead of hitting snooze. I've been guilty of that, but experts recommend that you don't hit snooze, that you get up right away, that you go start your morning routine. So let's say, for instance, that somebody wants to go do 30 minutes of exercise. So that's fantastic. So they go take a jog, come back, take a shower, and then at the end of the shower, spend about 30 seconds to a minute of, running cold water on your body to get your nerves and your nervous system awake and ready to go and alert for the day. Let's say maybe somebody chooses in the morning to do their power hour and to reflect on certain aspects of their life, or to do box breathing or a certain type of meditation in the morning to clear their mind, to reflect, to really think about what they want to do that day. And then whether it's before you're driving or during, and I don't recommend doing any reading or texting or doing things on your phone while driving, but let's just say it's before, when you go driving. Like I said, you do your meditation, and then you might read a chapter of a book, or you might start to do your positive affirmations. You might say, my focus is this. I want to do this. My goals today are this, and I am, and basically reinforce those positive things. And then, one positive habit that I've always heard of and recommend is if you read scriptures in the morning or you have some other kind of spiritual or religious texts or motivational texts, make sure that you continue reading those. So that might be before you drive to work or after. But let's say it's after you start driving to work. So you get out, you get your briefcase, you get your computer, you get everything ready to go. You're dressed, your bed's made, you've gone through your morning routine, you're ready to win the day. And then you, before you start driving, click on the chapter or chapters or the book that you're going to read in the morning, and you read that on the way to work. And you're not distracted, and you're not taking phone calls, and you're not, racing mentally a million miles a minute. And you're focused on learning, and you're investing in yourself and your personal education first and foremost. And then you get to work and you're ready to go. So you go in the office, preferably you're there before anybody else is there so that you can have some quiet time, some focus time. And this is really impactful for field engineers. And then you go through and look at what you have planned for that day from your weekly work plan, what's on your Outlook calendar, what's time blocked. And then you look at your to-do list and you triage, or you focus on the items on your to-do list that are of significant importance for that day or that have to be accomplished that day. And then you time block those things into your system. Meaning if you had activity number 1, activity number 2, time blocked in your day, and then you had 3 to-do list items that you triaged from the rest of the list, then you would say, how can I circle these into my normal time blocked day today? Maybe I have to add a couple of other segments in here throughout the day. And then you have a plan, a time-blocked plan for that day where you can go in and do the things that you feel like you need to do. And so if you have that morning routine and you make sure that you are physically and mentally stable and you've read good books and you've read your scriptures and you've done your meditation, you've done your exercise, and your mind is sharp and ready to go, then you are in peak condition to go execute your personal organization system. Now, if you have that, and if you do that time blocking every day, here's where it can get really remarkable. There's another podcast titled Leader Standard Work, and I highly recommend that you go listen to that podcast because it talks about doing a weekly work planning system. If you do the weekly work planning system where every week you have time blocked your next week, then like I said with the last planner system, you can go and make sure that every day you're following those time blocked tasks and that you're circling in your daily to-do list items. But when you do that, make sure that your weekly work plan and your day plan has family items first, and then your leader standard work, the things that only you can do and will do, and then your standard meetings, and then the chaos of the day. And if you do that, then you're able to go out with vigor and with the emotional and mental and physical capacity to go run an amazing morning huddle, to look at safety as the first focus of the day and ensure everything is headed in a good direction. Sign off all of the permits that you need to sign off for the day. Make sure that the cranes are set up. Make sure everybody's headed in a good direction. And if you do this, you will allow everyone else to be successful because you've held up your part of the bargain. And remember, the 3 key habits of an effective superintendent are to, or a builder or a manager or a field engineer, are to, study your plans for 30 minutes every day, to be in your schedule for 30 minutes every day, and then to do reflection walks. And that all ties together in a system where you know what you're building, you schedule what you're building, and you start and trigger work. Basically, you plan work so that it can be executed. And then you do reflection walks that will tie into the next morning's set of meetings. And so here's how you should feel on a daily basis, is that when you go to your morning huddle, you're ready to go. You have the information, you have a list of items from yesterday, you have your speech ready, you know exactly where to head people, and you have energy and excitement and passion and enthusiasm, and you can go out there and do that. Consider that versus going out to a morning huddle where you feel behind the 8 ball and you're not prepared. So the focus here is that we need to always be sharp and we always need to know what needs to be done. And the vision for success is that people on your project site would say, man, this person as the PM or the superintendent kept everyone accountable and gently pushed us in the direction where we needed to go so that we would stay on track, and helped everyone on project site to have a sense of urgency. And I will say, if we don't have a personal organization system that is tied to a weekly work plan that is then time blocked where we can implement it, and if that's not supported by a good morning routine, then it's hard for us to instill energy or a sense of urgency in other people because we're going to, again, be behind the 8 ball. And the current situation is really that people don't schedule their time. They're not organized. They're, late. We have CEOs, we have directors, we have people in high places, we have PMs and supers that are always late to meetings, always on their phone. They're not focused and attentive. They're distracted. They don't return calls. They don't return emails. They are never where they're supposed to be. They miss half of their meetings. They don't reply when they need to. They don't follow up on assignments. And it's all because of a lack of a personal organization system. So here's my challenge to you. Get a to-do list. Get a morning routine. Make sure that you have a system where you can tie into your weekly work plan, that you can circle in your to-do list items into your time-blocked items for the day, and then you have a plan in an easy location where you can go implement and do the things that you should be doing that will bring you the most success and fulfillment. And so I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. The vision for this is that you're able to work less than 55 hours, that you don't always have to be on the project side, that you can be more successful by following up on items, that you can always be ahead of the game and really feel like you're winning on a daily basis, and that you have things coordinated, most importantly, for these wonderful workers on site, and that we can have trained leaders and preserve families at home where people go home safely on time. So if you have any feedback for me, or you want to do a podcast interview, or if you want to request a topic, please email me at jasons@elevateconstructionist.com, or check us out on our website at www.elevateconstructionist.com, or reach out to us on LinkedIn or Facebook or my personal LinkedIn profile. I would love to help. I really believe in this because personal organization is where it starts for every great leader, anybody that I've ever seen promoted to high levels of success and fulfillment, and it really is where we should begin. So until we meet again, I hope this helps. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.